people were talking about velocity banking like a lot a few years ago. It started popping up, and definitely the conversations online about HELOCs at that time were mainly variable interest rate HELOCs. No one's talking about fixed rate HELOCs until literally we started coming onto YouTube. I think 99% of the people who entered into velocity banking, they did it on a variable interest rate. And at that time, probably it made sense because rates were so low.
If it's a variable rate HELOC that you're in at that time, right? And most people are using variable rate HELOCs for the velocity banking side, you're like payoff hack kind of collapses because again, we're seeing people who tried this when say you tried to do this, you're the one of the early adopters and it worked in the beginning because it was a lower interest rate technically and you had a HELOC for 4% back in 2021. Yeah, I remember like 2019 to 2021, I saw a lot of HELOCs right around that range in the 4% range. So it's like, if that was tied to the Wall Street Journal, it wasn't 4% anymore, right? So it's probably 9, 10% 3 years later and you refinanced out of it. Hopefully.
Most people who got this 3, 4 years ago, they got into velocity banking on a variable interest rate HELOC. Like you've exposed yourself to the greatest the greatest rate hike in modern history. You know, like if your HELOC was at 2 or 3%, 4%, like what Jason was saying, and then 2 years later, the Fed hiked it all the way to like right now it's at 7.5%. And that's when it came down. It was almost like 8, 9%. So you experienced quite a price shock or like a payment shock.